دوستان سلام و جهان خیلی خوش آمدید به کانال من هستم. Hello internet people, my name is Amanda and I am going to weigh in a little bit more about the geopolitics happening in the Middle East with the United States and Israel killing the Ayatollah, and just some more thoughts that I had on that. So first, I am going to discuss my positionality, my credentials, and the bias that I would have, or that I have. So I am a geographer. I am not Iranian. I am European. I'm American of European descent. I was in a long-term closeted relationship with a woman from Iran who came to the United States before the Islamic Revolution. She was not political, she was environmental, an environmentalist, and so not politically active. I have a master's in geography and environmental studies, and then I went on for a PhD in geography where the focus of my dissertation was on women's rights in Iran. I was awarded a pre-doc fellowship in the CSAMES pre-doc fellowship to study Persian culture and language, and because circumstances being what they were, I did not finish my PhD. However, that is my positionality, my bias, and my credentials for discussing this topic. So that being said, I felt like I wanted to talk more about this because I was studying this extensively for a while, and had I obtained my PhD and completed the dissertation in the area that I was studying, I would be arguably a subject matter expert on this topic and probably somebody who would be talking about this, but asked to speak about this. So no one's asking me to talk about this now, but I am going to give my thoughts on it all the same. I think that I am so blown away. I'm still in shock and awe over this. I've been watching the news extensively since I heard about this, since I heard that Ayatollah Khamenei was murdered by the U.S. and Israeli government, and the reaction of people, of displaced Iranians in America, is, from watching news segments, from hearing from people that I know, Iranian Americans that I know, everyone is excited about this. Like, this is cause for celebration. So, when you're hearing on the news that the people in the streets are saying, like, death to America, va Inglis, like, go away, Americans, like, that's the propaganda. That's not actually the citizens. Those are the people who are in favor of the regime, in favor of the Islamic Republic. Those aren't the everyday citizens that are on the receiving end of the wrath of that regime. So the regime change, is it possible? That's a really great question. Is regime change possible? I think that Iran is now in a really great position to be able to successfully enact a regime change. However, with the caveat that the forces, because the Islamic Republic has been in power since 1979, there's a lot of force behind that. That's not just the Ayatollah. So is there a chance that the Islamic Republic could just put in um, another dummy in the place of Ayatollah, like the next Ayatollah, the next figurehead for the Islamic Republic? Of course, right? Of course, the government could do that because they have been seated into power since the 80s. So, however, the people of Iran are in a really great position to be able to enact a regime change. How? I mean, I am not that attuned to how that would happen. I have thoughts of how the U.S. and Israel would be able to continue to assist that regime change, and that would be by bringing back the dynasty, the Pahlavi dynasty, with the son of Reza Pahlavi, who is the crowned prince. So technically, I mean, that to me, that would be not the easiest, but that would be the smoothest way to enact regime change. And I think that where geopolitics is at right now in terms of the positionality of Western society in the Middle East and how that perception is sort of it's changing. So years ago, probably like from 52, which was the coup that actually so in 52 it was Mossadegh who was bringing about change in Iran, and then they reinstated Reza Pahlavi, the Shah. They reinstated the dynasty by bringing in the new Shah, and then that led to the Islamic Republic taking control from the revolution, because Iran was upset, and rightfully so, that the US had stepped in and overthrown their push towards democracy through Mossadegh, and instead instated a Western-backed Shah to uphold Western ideals, or really American ideals. So from my understanding, it was more of Iran wanting to have sovereignty, and not wanting to be an American-controlled country, or a colony, if you will. And then that just got turned upside down when the Islamic Republic took over and was like, yeah, va Ingiliz, like, death to America, blah, blah, blah. And then instead did not do anything of what the people of Iran actually wanted, and set everything back, including women's rights, centuries. I mean, if you look at pictures of Iran, if you see videos from Iran from before the revolution, the country was not, women weren't wearing hijab. There was no mandatory hijab. If women wore hijab, it was because they were extremely, extremely religious women. It wasn't because they were forced to wear it by the government. It was because they chose to, because it was representation of their religion to which they felt that they wanted to portray. And then it became a law, and then the punishment for women stepping outside of that was just insane. There's a movie, The Stoning of Soraya M., starring Shora Agdashlu, which is based on a real story, the actual stoning of this woman, Soraya Manchachari, in the 80s. It was an actual stoning of this woman in the 1980s in Iran, in a country town in Iran. Basically just because she was a nuisance wife who wanted a divorce. And the Islamic Republic would not want a woman to be independent as such. So anyway, it was based on a real story. So that is the reality of the situation in Iran. And the people of Iran have been fighting tooth and nail since the 1980s to regain their freedom and independence. And it's been an uphill, never-ending battle from my perspective, from an outsider's perspective. So do I think regime change is possible? I think that they are now positioned in a place where it is much more likely than it has been in decades. And we'll see what happens in terms of what else America, the U.S. and Israel is going to do to continue to support that regime, the regime change. My fear is that because the Islamic Republic is so ingrained, decades long ingrained now in politics, in society, through the hierarchies that be in politics, that it could just be a wash, and the next Ayatollah could take over, and it could be 20 times worse now in retaliation because of what happened. Or there could be an actual regime change, and there could be some peace, and, the people of Iran being able to take a breath and have freedom again. So who knows what's going to happen next, but I'm very curious to see how this is going to unfold. So I'll possibly be talking more about this, of my own humble opinion. I'm so curious what your thoughts are on this. How do you think this is going to play out? خیلی ممنون و خداحافظ.